Whether it's freely fishing any day of the week, shopping for strawberries at his local grocery store, or pan-frying delightful food for dinner, these are new activities that this man couldn't do this time last year.
And you're originally from California, right?
Yeah, from Los Angeles.
And what was it like growing up in LA?
When I grew up, it was like gangland capital. Gangland of the capital of the world.
The David Gonzalez today can be described by many as hopeful, faithful, and grateful. However, the David Gonzalez many knew decades ago couldn't have been more different.
I know the hurt that I left, the families, friends, just so many people I destroyed their lives that you can never take that back. And, you know, it's eating at me since it happened. I ran away at 12. I was homeless at 12. You know, once I was turned into the age of 13, I was already, you know, fully fledged hardcore gang member in Los Angeles. I mean, once I kind of got the leash taken off of me, you know, there was no holding me back at the time. So I was always in jail. From 13 up until like 17.
At a young age, Gonzalez went down the wrong path, not just physically, but mentally too.
I had a lot of, you know, issues when I was growing up, you know, getting bullied at school, and, you know, some mental health issues as well that I had that I didn't really understand.
When Gonzalez was 19, he was arrested and faced the charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony. He was sentenced to 40 to 60 years in prison and served 23 and a half years for the crimes that he committed. He said he spent 15 of those years in solitary confinement.
This is bigger than my cell that I lived in for 23 and a half years and 15 years in segregation and in solitary confinement. I had a toilet, a sink, a concrete bed, and I had a space about that big where I had 4 steps. 2, 3, 4, and I would just turn and just walk 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a little window right here where you look and there's another wall that you're looking at. So this was my cell that I lived in forever. And God gave me a walk-in closet bigger than my cell that I lived in, you know, in solitary confinement for 15 years. 3 and 4 years at a time. Your mind cannibalizes itself. You feel like you're dead.
In an annual report on restrictive housing, Nebraska's Department of Correctional Services, or NDCS, said 1/5 of its population is in restrictive housing. 1/3 of that population has been diagnosed with a serious mental illness.
I was diagnosed with everything from like schizophrenia down to anxiety to depression to ADHD, bipolar. I was diagnosed with a lot of stuff. I went through not wanting to live no more. I mean, yeah, I went through it all.
We're unable to confirm what he was treated for in prison, but during this time period, Gonzalez said he went on and off his meds. He knew he needed help.
So you never really have any peace, any rest. You know, every single day feels like an eternity. You know, it gets to the point where, you know, you think everybody forgot about you. You think everybody's out to get you.
However, the ability for incarcerated people to find mental health treatment has been quite the feat. In the 2024 annual report from the Office of Inspector General, of the 73 behavioral health practitioner positions, there are 42 vacancies. Of the 16 psychologist positions, there are 12 vacancies. Also, of the 3 psychiatrist positions, there is only 1 chief part-time psychiatrist working.
I think generally it's tough to work in a jail or prison setting just for your own autonomy.
Dr. Kimberly Clausen is a forensic psychiatrist in the state of Nebraska, who through University of Nebraska Medical Center, or UNMC, she works with mentally ill people in the Sarpy County Wellness Court, a diversion program, and is a forensic evaluator at the Lincoln Regional Center, doing competency to stand trial evaluations.
A lot of times you can't, take things into the building that you usually would. You are kind of stuck in the building having gone through security for, long periods of time. You aren't able to leave and just, go grab coffee.
Clausen said mental health professionals may fear what they don't understand.
One of the first things that people ask me when they find out what I do and they find out that I'm working in the legal system and that I go into facilities pretty frequently is they ask if I'm ever scared. And I always kind of laugh because I have not ever had an experience where I've felt more unsafe in one of our facilities than I have, working in my office, working in an emergency department, working in an inpatient psychiatric facility.
In addition to annual reports, the Inspector General's office also conducted a survey of NDCS. Health workers were asked about the well-being of the workplace. Hey, why deal with inmates when you can make more on the outside and have all your own freedoms? Lack of trust and support from administration. Currently, psychologists at NDCS make about $13 an hour less than psychologists at the Lincoln Regional Center. We have yet to get a meaningful response on why there is such a high disparity for very similar jobs, other than hearing that non-clinical administrators and frakes don't believe in us. Additionally, the Department of Correction needs to get rid of the toxic environment that has been allowed to grow. Additionally, NDCS's website shows a plethora of active job postings in the behavioral health realm. Randall Robbins was incarcerated for nearly 21 years. He agrees mental health help is hard to get and find in Nebraska prisons. He said he felt like just a number.
So out here, I go and see a therapist. My name is Randall. On the inside, I go in there, my name's Robbins, and I have a number. You go in, there's 10 files on their desk, and they're gonna pull it out, and it's got your number on the side.
Robbins said a therapy appointment post-incarceration is much more different than inside of prison.
They're gonna ask you a bunch of general questions, not know like, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Like, tell me how everything's, been, what's work, how's, and so on. There, it's more of like, have you had any outbursts? Are you programming? Are you getting misconduct reports? It's focused centered around negativity, right? We knew that was normalcy.
Robbins was first incarcerated at 17 years of age in 2002. He was released nearly 21 years later in 2022, and he is now working as a family program associate at RISE, a re-entry program here in Nebraska. Throughout his time in prison, he was able to witness firsthand how mental health professionals were treated within the walls of Nebraska's Department of Corrections.
My therapist, if I saw her walking across the yard, right, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? Then, if another officer saw that, right, they're gonna write her up because she's fraternizing with me. And it's like, she wants to treat me as a human, and, you're told not to do that.
The work environment in prisons for mental health professionals can be described as restrictive and unnatural by Robbins, as well as several other formerly and currently incarcerated people within the Nebraska prison system. Robbins said getting proper treatment from the NDCS was always an issue. He said medication that worked well would disappear due to a variety of reasons.
So because of that, hey, we're gonna take that medication off this list and now we're gonna put you on something else. So then it was put me on Seroquel, it was put me on Thorazine, Trazodone. It was it was a nonstop, right? It never was consistent.
Gonzalez also experienced similar issues with getting the proper medication while incarcerated, particularly while being in solitary confinement. And over time, Gonzalez said his mental health reached a point where he had become suicidal.
But that's when God kind of started reaching out to me when I tried to take my own life. And he just kept asking me if I was done yet. Are you done? Are you done? And I was like, F you, I don't want nothing, I just want to freaking die.
But then, Gonzalez said he got help from a psychologist at Tecumseh's maximum security prison.
Ever since then, everything just started changing for me. He kept working with me, kept helping me out. We started talking, I started opening him up more and more and more. It took me a long time to open up to him. But little by little, I started feeling like a little bit of peace.
If correction was just to house people and then let them go based on their sentence from the courts, then essentially we done our job, right? But that's just not it, right? Because people come back.
The issue of staffing shortages has not gone unnoticed by the higher-ups within NDCS. Director Rob Jeffries has been watching the issue since he was hired in 2023. He spoke to our team of investigative reporters who are also working on stories about NDCS at the College of Journalism and Mass Communications.
And so And I'll preface this with, this is just not an issue for corrections, right? There's a mental health shortage, professionals nationwide.
And with these staffing shortages, Jeffries and the Department of Correctional Services have been finding workarounds to solve the issue.
But what we do to augment those vacancies is we do contract services. We contract out with folks who can telehealth for us, who can do things via Zoom or webcam and everything, that not necessarily have to have somebody come into the facility to address them.
The Office of the General Inspector of the NDCS is in the process of getting data of contracted work for an upcoming report, but they did not have any current numbers to share with us for this story. Gonzalez said he faced his demons when he was in prison. He got the help he needed. He now helps out his community by visiting local jails and speaking to the youth, giving guidance on how to get out of a crime-filled life.
Got a nonprofit. I was a gangster in every way, shape, and form. And when God changed me, I figured that name just came to me and it stuck, Gangster to Goster. So it's a nonprofit now that I started.
He is now looking at life with a set of eyes full of gratitude, love, and prosperity.
If you were to describe yourself in one word after being incarcerated, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, man. Grateful. And that implies for everything, because, if you get a baby, if you see a little baby, you can get a wrapper, and you can go like this to them, and they're like, right? Dude, when I freaking get out, dude, and I see a freaking bird sitting there, and I'm just like, all the smallest things now are like amazing, I feel like I'm a baby, just kind of experience the world again.
Gonzalez said he wants others who are incarcerated to get the help they need too, but knows changes need to happen due to the steep vacancy rate of mental health help inside NDCS. I'm Jackson Ingvoldstad for UNL's In-Depth Reporting.